You're taking the fucking piss. You're taking the piss.
Wind your neck in.
Wind your neck in, big fella. Wind your neck in. Get back to work. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to organ grinder.
Listen, you're going to end up with a good hiding if you don't.
Right, I'll tell you what it is. Someone wants to give me a good hiding. Come on, bring it on.
This is Auditing Yorkshire on a visit to Blackpool with West Audit Report, and like most of us when we visit Blackpool, they stop off for a tour of the sights, including Blackpool Tower, the ballroom and glass floor, the zoo, Pleasure Beach. Oh wait, hang on, that's wrong. No, I am wrong. They stopped off at an industrial estate. Don't ask me.
One way this, mate. One way. No bed.
You see, what I like most about Auditing Yorkshire are his conflict resolution skills. Calling someone a knobhead really does help de-escalate things.
Yes guys, what is going on? Welcome back to my channel, it's Auditing Yorkshire. So, we're in Blackpool. We're at Squires Gate Industrial Estate, and when we drive down, and here's another look. This is a one-way system. So basically this is the industrial estate, guys. Now, one of the entrances here, the exit's closed off into this industrial estate, but the entrance is closed off. No, I'm getting confused. The exit is closed off, but the entrance is open.
Let me help you with your confusion. The route you took onto the industrial estate was from this entrance off Squires Gate Lane. Squires Gate Lane is a public highway, and it looks like the main route through the industrial estate is also a public highway. I'm happy to work on that assumption in any event. You will then access company premises at one of the entrances indicated by the arrows. The company premises I'm referring to can be seen from the entrance here on the left. What this means is that you are on private land. We can also say that you are not on the land for a purpose that could reasonably fall within an implied permission to access the land. You're not a customer or potential customer. You're not a supplier. You're not a staff member. That means you're trespassing. You're not a journalist either, and even if we pretend that you are, you're still trespassing. Journalists and journalism are not immune from the general law, including trespass law. I agree that drivers should go the right way down one-way routes, even on private land, but that has nothing to do with you. You shouldn't be there at all.
So people are having to come in. People are having to leave through the entrance, and it's a one-way system. So let's go find out where they're doing this work. Yeah, so we've just gone right other side at industrial estate, guys. Check this shit out, man. Big, massive hole in road. And like I said, you've got people leaving through the entrance because the entrance is blocked off.
Which has precisely nothing at all to do with you. You shouldn't even be there anyway.
But there's no signs up, no lights, nothing. Go find out what they're playing at.
Why? It's nothing to do with you. It's of no public interest whatsoever.
Where is it? See another guy wanting to get out.
You'll notice what Auditing Yorkshire has just done there. There's clearly a sign indicating a pedestrian route, it's just to the left. He's ignored this and walked onto an area of work which is hazardous. He shouldn't even be on these premises at all. He's trespassing, and now he's going to bother some workmen. What our dynamic duo have done is entered the industrial estate where I've indicated by the yellow arrow. They have then walked down that road, which we'll assume is a public highway, but they've entered private business premises via one of the entrances indicated there by the red arrows. They then cycled round the building along the route I've shown in red, and you see here some footage from West Audit Report showing them doing this. They're now where you see the green circle. Some sort of work is going on, and that blocks staff and visitors to the business from using the route I've marked in green to exit the industrial estate. That route looks like it's a private road, but there are some businesses along it, so we can imply that the public have some sort of access, but the public don't have access using the route taken by Auditing Yorkshire and West Audit Report. The access will be from the other side, which is where I've put the green arrow. And the businesses along there are not public facing anyway. The only people who are inconvenienced are the staff of the company premises on which these two are trespassing. And the company staff have resolved that by using the one-way route, which is clearly a private road anyway and not a highway. Basically, these two idiots are creating an issue out of nothing about a problem that has nothing to do with them and has already been resolved and wasn't even a problem in the first place, concerning property on which they have no business and are trespassing.
What's happening, fella?
Good.
Yeah, you. What's up with him?
Oh, just wet concrete outside.
Have I just walked through wet concrete?
No, that's the road's not. It's just the side what wet, mate.
Alright, I think I just walked through. Who's in charge like round here?
Gaffer there.
Oh, the guy in that van. What's he saying, what? I don't know, it didn't sound to me. You look absolutely boiling, mate.
Oh, mate.
You got plenty of water in that, yeah? The size of this hydraulic drill.
Come on, mate. Come on, here.
But it takes a few people to pick that up, doesn't it?
Oh, just a bit. What are you up to?
Just making a video of this industrial estate, mate.
Right.
You know, when I was coming in on bike,
Yeah.
I didn't get it on camera, but first guy nearly took me out.
Which guy?
No, it don't work for you. Just this, whoever, customer, whatever, wherever he works, I don't know what it is. And I thought, you know, I had to swerve on that with bike. So then I put my body, I put my obviously my GoPro on.
Motorbike?
No, push bike. But then I put my GoPro on, and another guy came down. I'm like, what are you doing, mate? What are you doing? It's a one-way system. And then he's like, the entrance is closed, so we're having to leave through the exit.
Right.
But there's absolutely zero signs. I've not seen any signs or anything like that, or anyone directing traffic or any temporary traffic signals.
Well, it's a private estate, you see.
That's correct. It's private land. I actually think Auditing Yorkshire does make a valid point when viewed in isolation. For the purpose of health and safety, you'd think there would be more information, especially when you bear in mind that not all visitors to this company will know what is going on. We could get into a discussion about whether the company and its contractor are compliant with health and safety laws and regulations, but that's a narrow question, and it boils down to whether there should be signage on private land advising visitors of a diversion and warning oncoming drivers that there may be off-coming traffic going the other way. Drivers and cyclists should still take care regardless. This workman is correct in what he says to Auditing Yorkshire. It is private land, so it's nothing to do with Auditing Yorkshire or anybody else. It doesn't affect him in any way.
Yeah, but I know it's private, but obviously it's public.
Applies.
Yeah. It's publicly accessible, and health and safety applies.
Health and safety laws and regulations do apply, that's correct. It doesn't hinge on whether the premises are publicly accessible. Health and safety is general law anyway, irrespective of whether the premises are public. Are the premises publicly accessible? Well, let's go back to the images I showed you earlier. Auditing Yorkshire and West Audit Report entered through one of the entrances shown by the arrows. They are therefore not on a public highway or public right-of-way. Clearly they're on private land. The entrances are open, but that doesn't mean they have permission to enter. They have no business at these premises, as I've explained, so they are trespassing. It's not publicly accessible and they know that full well. They are actually lying about that.
So, I mean, what's going on? Do you know what I mean?
You've got no right to know what's going on. It's not your business. That is simply the truth of it. You're sticking your nose into something that is of no concern to you.
So you weren't delivering?
Eh?
You weren't delivering?
No.
No.
That's a fair question from the workman. If he's not delivering something, what's he doing there?
So you're public then?
Yeah, but my name's not Joe.
No, all I'm saying is, it's a private estate from the lights. Nobody realises that. All that road's private. All this is
Oh, I
private.
know.
So
I'm not sure that the workman is quite right about the other road, with due respect. It may be that some of the industrial estate is public highway. I do think it is. I think the main route in is a public highway. But he's definitely right that the bit they are now on is private land. And as I've shown you, they have accessed that area via private land.
at end of the day,
I know.
you shouldn't really be on here.
I know.
If the truth be known.
But it's publicly accessible.
It's not. You've walked onto company premises.
Well,
That's why
yeah,
it's come in.
But how do you know what businesses are here?
And
everything's publicly accessible, isn't it?
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
But that's not true, and it's not an answer. If it's private land, you must have permission to be there. Otherwise, you're trespassing.
And health and safety still applies when you're on private property.
Also, there's an Aldi's down there.
Are you with
isn't
me?
there?
Correct, but it's not your concern, as the issue you're referring to only affects private land. The work going on does block vehicular, but not pedestrian access, but it does block vehicular access to the route shown here in green, but the businesses along that part of the industrial estate are not public facing. This means that any issues caused by the works are entirely issues for staff and visitors to those private premises. If Auditing Yorkshire has concerns about health and safety, on the other hand, he can report them to the local authority or the health and safety executive if he wishes. Berating a workman about it isn't going to solve anything.
Also, there's an Aldi's down there.
Are you with
isn't
me?
there? Which is publicly accessible for shopping.
Again, let me unravel for you the lying, disingenuous rubbish from West Audit Report. As you can see from this map, the Aldi that West Audit Report refers to is publicly accessible from the main estate road. You can see it there marked by the yellow arrow, whereas West Audit Report and Auditing Yorkshire are stood where the green circle is. Even if the works are blocking the entrance where the green arrow is, it doesn't impede public access to Aldi in any way.
Technically, no.
Just say, for example, right, this industrial estate, like you says, private. If I come on here, now there's no gates, no barriers, I've just come straight in. I go round there, someone knocks me off my bike,
Yeah, you've got.
I've got a claim.
Yeah.
Because health and safety still applies.
So is this
That, again, is correct. To be fair, health and safety laws and regulations do also protect visitors, including unauthorised visitors such as trespassers. Also of relevance here is the law concerning occupiers' liability. I will here play an extract from one of my previous videos in which I explain how occupiers' liability can apply even to trespassers. But here we are dealing with a trespasser rather than a visitor, so we have to look instead at the Occupiers Liability Act 1984. There is some dispute in case law about the meaning of and the difference between a visitor and a trespasser and the definition of an occupier. The 1984 Act refers to persons other than visitors, which is taken to include trespassers. Lord Dunedin, in the 1929 case of Robert Addie and Sons, Colliery Limited and Dumbreck, defined a trespasser as follows. A trespasser is a person who goes upon land without invitation of any sort and whose presence is unknown to the proprietor or, if known, is practically objected to. It seems to me that this does include the auditor in this video. In short, the Occupiers Liability Act 1984 imposes a duty on occupiers to take reasonable care for the safety of trespassers in regard to any risks that may involve the trespasser suffering injury due to a hazard on the premises or due to things done or omitted to be done by the occupier. This duty of care arises when the occupier is aware of a danger, the occupier has reasonable grounds to believe that a trespasser may be present, and the occupier ought to reasonably think about providing some protection to the trespasser. What all this means is that while occupiers are not generally responsible for injuries sustained by trespassers, there are exceptions. For instance, occupier liability is acknowledged if an occupier is aware of frequent trespassing or the presence of, let's say, children or other vulnerable people in the vicinity, and they haven't taken reasonable steps to prevent harm, such as erecting fences or warning signs. I think whether a statutory liability under the Occupiers Liability Act would arise for the occupier in this situation involving Auditing Yorkshire and West Audit Report is a bit up in the air. If we look at the Occupiers Liability Act 1984, and in particular subsections 1.3 to 1.6, what we see is that some of the requirements potentially are met for liability to exist, which is, first of all, that the occupier must be aware that a danger or hazard does exist, and the occupier must be able to anticipate that a trespasser may come on the premises, as well as just a visitor who may potentially be injured if there isn't sufficient signage. It is the case that if we look at subsection 5, it says any duty owed by virtue of this section in respect of a risk may in an appropriate case be discharged by taking such steps as are reasonable in all the circumstances of the case to give warning of the danger concerned or to discourage persons from incurring the risk. The only warnings given have been given verbally once the two of them were already on site and had confronted the workman. Subsection 6 says no duty is owed by virtue of this section to any person in respect of risks willingly accepted as his by that person. The question of whether a risk was so accepted will be decided on the same principles as in other cases to which one person owes a duty of care to another. Is the risk willingly accepted by Auditing Yorkshire? I would say yes. Certainly at one point he noticed a hazard and he being the hole in the ground, and he continued on site. He then ignored a sign directing pedestrians along a footway and approached the workman across a hazardous area. With regard to health and safety law, on the other hand, in simple terms, occupiers, known in health and safety legal terminology as employers, have a duty to ensure that their business is conducted in a way that doesn't expose people to health and safety risks. This includes trespassers who may be affected by the business, and I would say this duty falls on both the occupier and also the contractor, who the workman for which Auditing Yorkshire confronts. And employers are under a duty to conduct risk assessments and put in place control measures to protect the public and other workers, including trespassers. So on that basis, it is possible that there could be one or more breaches of health and safety if it's deemed to be the case that an insufficient risk assessment was conducted and insufficient control measures were put in place to inform and protect anyone coming on site, regardless of whether they are there lawfully.
Your full-time job then?
Sorry?
Is this your full-time job?
I'm just a concerned member of public.
That's a lie. You're a monetised content creator on YouTube. You're not there as a member of the public.
Right.
I've just asked your guy here, who's gaffer. It's a guy in van, so I thought I'd come and have a word with you.
Yeah. So what do you need to know?
If you're going to make any improvements to public safety.
Well, it's not down to us, it's the people that own it, to be honest with you.
The industrial estate?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And they're not doing anything. Surely you couldn't carry out work without the proper health and safety regulations in place, can you?
Well, of course, well...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but the proper health and safety's in place.
I mean, it's like building an house with no safety boots and hard hat on. You won't be able to do it, would you?
It's not meant to be public down here, so really, end the conversation.
So far, Auditing Yorkshire hasn't even specified what health and safety laws or regulations he thinks have been breached. He may be referring to this hazard.
Like I said, you've got people leaving. No signs up, no lights, nothing.
But you can clearly see that the hole has barriers around it. I agree that there could be lights around it as well, but there may be a reason for the lack of lights. It may be that that work is only being being completed that day. I think it's possible you could argue that there should be signage warning drivers and other road users that the one-way system may have contraflow traffic. But even if that's what Auditing Yorkshire has in mind as well, the area we're referring to is entirely a private road within company premises, so it's not of general public concern, and Auditing Yorkshire, to repeat, is trespassing anyway. If he wants to report his concerns, he can report it, but arguing about it with a workman, I repeat, doesn't achieve anything. As to what offences would be relevant here, that would potentially be under sections 33 and 37 of the Health and Safety at Work Act, which specify offences of breach of duty of the employer or a self-employed person towards employees and non-employees, and also provide for liability of company directors and other company officials where the occupier or employer is a corporate body. There are other relevant provisions in the 1974 Act and the various regulations, but I don't propose here to go into health and safety laws and regulations in any detail. It's enough just to provide a summary for our purposes.
Well, it's not. It's still open to public.
It's not open to the whole world, though. It's public only in the sense that someone with permission can enter. It doesn't mean that anybody can enter. It is private land and you shouldn't be there at all. The flip side of this is that the workman could handle this better, especially if he's a supervisor. He could have said to Auditing Yorkshire something along the lines of, "Thank you for raising these concerns with me. I will note them and ensure they're raised with the relevant people. This is private land, so please now leave."
Not the end of the conversation because I haven't finished talking.
Fucking is the end of the conversation.
No, it isn't.
Right.
Why are you swearing?
Well, don't say I'm swearing. I'm not
Right.
swearing.
Have you got nothing else better to do?
Well, no,
Seriously,
like I
have you
said,
got nothing
like I
else
said, I
better
nearly
to
got
do?
knocked off my bike.
You nearly got knocked off your bike, you say? We haven't seen that, but we'll assume you're telling the truth. It's still the case that you have no proper business being there anyway. Unfortunately, the workman is now becoming more aggressive. At this point, Auditing Yorkshire should be leaving.
Listen, mate, I'm talking quietly. I'm calm.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
why are you swearing at me?
Yeah, but why don't you go and find the fella who nearly knocked you off the bike?
Right.
And then,
But you're the gaffer
interview him.
who's doing this work here right now. When you're
Yeah.
stopping people leaving through the exit, but having to
No,
come in,
we're not
leave
stopping
through
it.
the
It's
entrance.
blocked off. Them barriers, it's blocked off.
Yeah, because you're digging road up.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing something with
because
road.
it's a private estate. You're allowed to do that.
Based on what the workman says there, it looks like the entrance where the green arrow is on the map has been blocked off. But as I said a few minutes ago, the businesses along the green route are not public facing, so the public are not inconvenienced, and he's right that it's private land.
There's no
With your
signs.
property.
There's no sign
With
saying
your
exit
property.
closed.
That's
leave.
like me coming onto your drive and saying,
Right.
well, you're digging it up. Why are you digging it up? Why are you doing that?
I agree it is like that, because it is private land.
Why don't you get yourself around the other side and put some, cones down the middle of the road or something so people know which
Well, we
side
could
it
have a
was.
man
Then
on the
some
end
temporary
just waving
signs.
them down.
There you go, that's a good idea, that.
Lollipop.
Hello.
Lollipop.
Good idea.
Do you want a job? Do you want a
Stop,
job?
go, stop, go.
Do you want a job?
Why can't you do
This
that?
weather.
Do you want a job?
No.
No? Why?
Find
Are you on
somebody.
the pip or
Find
something?
me.
What?
I wouldn't want to work for you.
Good, because I wouldn't have you working for me.
Well, I won't work for you.
Obviously, the mistake the workman is making is allowing himself to be drawn into an argument with two idiots. He should just tell them what I suggested earlier, then ask them to leave and ignore them.
Too opinionated.
Definitely.
Opinionated.
Well, it's not too opinionated. It's just that he's that bored. He's got to come round and mither people.
I'm not bored.
Getting on with their own business.
I'm not bored.
Well, you must be.
I'm pointing out health
You
and
must
safety
be.
to you.
Well, thank you very much.
So now what are you going to do something about it?
Thank you very much.
Now what are you going to do something about it?
Well, we're finished tomorrow, so it makes no odds.
Eh?
There you go then.
Finished tomorrow.
So this
it makes
is
no
going to be
odds.
back open tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Tomorrow.
obviously, yeah, but company who's got it, because obviously I'm going to take this further, so who can I contact?
Where are you taking it to?
Whoever's ordered you guys to come in here.
Right, well, you want...
While you're riding around on your bike aimlessly.
Listen, mate,
What
don't
you
start taking piss, all right? We're here, we're acting civil.
Well, you're taking the fucking piss. You're taking the
Wind your
piss.
neck in.
Wind your neck in, big fella. Wind your neck in. Get back to work. I'm not talking to you. Talking to organ grinder.
Listen, you're going to end
Right.
up with a good hiding if you don't.
Right, I'll tell you what it is. Someone wants to give me a good hiding. Come on, bring it on. Grab me bag.
You are.
Bring it on.
You are.
Nah, don't threaten me. Don't say I'm going to get a good hiding, because first person what comes to me, I'm going to defend myself. All right, and if you don't want me to do that,
Listen.
don't threaten to give me a good hiding.
Do what you want
What's
to
the
do.
name of your company?
Just get on with what you want
What's
to
the
do.
name of your company?
I'm not telling you the name of the company. Listen,
I'll find.
just do what you're going to do.
I'll find out.
This is significant. What you're looking at there is the road I've marked with a green line on the map. You can see two things. First, the road is blocked off by some purple barriers, so any businesses along there are not accessible. But as I've said, they're not public-facing businesses anyway. Second, that yellow barrier you can see in the foreground is permanent, which pretty much confirms that most or all of it is a private road, and both Auditing Yorkshire and West Audit Report have been trespassing, and are still trespassing, and any implied permission for the public to access the road will be for the purpose of accessing any businesses along it as a staff member, customer or other visitor within the reasonable expectation of the occupiers. I would say that Auditing Yorkshire is trespassing even along that road, together with West Audit Report, of course.
BK67 MDU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a detective now.
Yeah,
Are you?
yeah.
Right.
Concerned member of the public.
Go and get a job.
Concerned member of
Go
the
and get a job and you wouldn't
public.
have
Turn
time
private
for all
investigator. All right.
Private investigator.
Yeah, so I'm going to find out who you work for.
Right, good. Good.
Auditing Yorkshire is a private dick. I think this is just embarrassing, really.
You find out who I
You
work.
started on me, and when you started swearing at
I've been
me,
civil
and then
with
said
you.
I'm going to get a good hiding.
civil.
Right? Do not threaten me.
Listen.
Just because a big guy's turned up.
That'll
I don't
give
give a
you a
shit how
fucking
many
good
people.
hiding.
I don't give a shit, mate. Let him try. Let him try. Don't threaten me.
Acting big, you got a camera on, because you just ring police as soon as you get here. But you're all right giving your mouth.
I don't need to act big, mate. I don't need to act big.
I agree with that because, after all, you are the big man in Huddersfield. We've already established that on this channel.
Eddie, you two got that Audi out there? Yeah, this Muppet here's just give you a ticket.
So it's not registered.
Yeah, it don't matter though, does it? I said, the guy, I know whose car it is, he's in the police station. I said, are you going to give me a chance to go tell him? No, mate. She won't talk to me. Got a colour number. She could not print that ticket out quick enough.
Yeah.
But I did manage to stop her getting the last photo. Yeah. I covered it up.
Okay.
I didn't rush to go and issue the ticket.
Yeah, you did. Stop raining, sun's come out, and you're straight out of that office. I've been stood out here for 2 hours.
Fine.
And you've been nowhere to seen. And I asked you a question, do you ticket the car park, the police cars on the road and the double yellows, the loading bays for paths, and you refused to answer me.
Anyway, enough of that, because Auditing Yorkshire is now trying to expand his big man empire into Blackpool. Let's see how he gets on.
No, I won't off I go. You get back to work. You were all right, you. I was talking to you civilly. I was talking to you civilly. You're not involved.
Yeah, but you're just
Organ grinder, minions. Organ grinder, minions.
Organ grinder, minions. Organ grinder, minions. I suppose when you're the big man in Blackpool, that's the way you need to talk to the workers.
Well, it's got nothing to do with you, has it, this conversation? Get back to work. I'll walk which way I want. All right.
Well, you are the big man in Blackpool, so you just go right ahead and walk all over a hazardous work site.
Yeah, try it. Try it, fella. Try it. I'd expect a phone call from Health and Safety Executive.
Oh, go ahead and call them then. And when you do call them, you'll be sure to mention your own disregard for health and safety, including the fact that you walked all over a hazardous work site and you were trespassing. On a more serious note, I personally don't believe there is any occupiers liability here to Auditing Yorkshire and West Audit Report, because I think that they've consented to undertake the relevant risks. The defence for the occupier would be in subsection 1.6 of the 1984 Act, which we discussed earlier. There's also a legal doctrine that predates it, known as volenti non fit injuria, the voluntary assumption of risk, which states that if someone willingly places themselves in a position where harm might result, knowing that some degree of harm might result, they are not able to bring a claim against the other party. I think Auditing Yorkshire and West Audit Report are fully aware of the risks they were placing themselves in. They ignored signage, they were trespassing, and they knew they were trespassing, or should know, because they clearly entered through a private access, as I've shown you. In my view, they consented to waive any damages for injury. Not that they did suffer injury anyway, obviously the discussion is moot, but it's important to emphasise that I just don't believe that they would have been able to claim damages had they suffered injury. As for health and safety, well, we have to take that seriously. Whether there are health and safety breaches really depends on how you want to interpret the relevant regulations. Should the company, should the occupier or the contractor have better signage to warn visitors of a contraflow of traffic along the one-way route? In my opinion, they should. Should they have lights around the hole in the ground that you saw earlier? Well, there is a barrier around it, and we don't know if the work was to be completed that day on the same day. It's difficult to say. I very much doubt the health and safety executive would take it too seriously, given that it is entirely on private land. But even so, it is potentially a situation where there could be breaches of health and safety.
Yeah. Health and safety. Expect a phone call. Get back to work.
Another order there from the big man. He does like to show his contempt for ordinary workers, doesn't he? But he is a big man, so, you know.
And don't you dare threaten a member of the public again. All right. Do not threaten a member of the public, and do not swear.
I do think that's a little bit hypocritical coming from Auditing Yorkshire, of all people. I know he's a big man in Blackpool now, but I think even the big man should try and practice what he preaches. Even so, I do agree that they shouldn't have spoken to him in the way that they did. At the same time, you've got to remember that these are workmen doing hard physical labour. These are just ordinary working people who won't have a sophisticated response to an auditor. They will just shoot from the hip. They work long hours, typically 12-hour shifts, getting up early in the morning and usually finishing late in the day. They have to do that day after day after day. In that situation, you're not going to be minding your P's and Q's with people. I've had that sort of job myself, and if some idiot had come up to me with a camera trying to push my buttons, my response would not have been very polite, let me put it that way. What Auditing Yorkshire is doing is disgusting. He's deliberately exploiting the normal reactions of working people to being provoked and turning it into exploitable content. None of the workmen's faces are blurred in the video on his channel, which means they can be identified, which means he's acting as a data controller, which in turn means that he's in breach of various data protection regulations. The nature of those breaches are repeated and consistent in virtually every auditing video on every one of these channels, not just Auditing Yorkshire's channel. And we've been over it exhaustively and in detail before. We need not cover it again here and quote the laws and regulations chapter and verse. The point is that Auditing Yorkshire shows no care or consideration for the fact that these men have jobs and need to earn a living. He doesn't care about that. Even if they were rude to him or threatened him, in the circumstances he was trespassing on private land. He was somewhere he shouldn't have been anyway, And until Auditing Yorkshire and West Audit Report showed up, these men were just innocently going about their work and not harming or bothering anybody else. Auditing Yorkshire engineered the entire incident, and it doesn't seem to me to serve any legitimate purpose beyond creating content for his channel.
Sorry mate, I can't understand what you're saying. 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 I can't understand. Get back to work. Get back to work.
This shows who he really is. He will try to remove it from his channel in the future, I'm pretty sure. This will stay on my channel.
You alright?
Yeah, but work.
What? Yeah, I'm alright. Absolute tossers, mate. Nick it over, threatened to nick his bikes.
I doubt that. I've also watched the footage from West Audit Report. Nowhere in his footage does anybody threaten to nick their bikes. And why would they if they're both riding their bikes? How could the workmen steal bikes that are being ridden? Makes no sense. West Audit Report even gives his video the title, "We Will Nick the Bikes" as well, but there was nothing in the content that backs that up. He's just a liar. They're both liars, like all auditors.